Measure twice, cut once. Welcome everybody to episode 47 of the Trust and Believe Nomad Cast. I'm your host, Mr. Anderson. Thank you for tuning in today on the 22nd of December, 2021. Before I get started with my opening remarks, the Trust and Believe nomadcast.buzzsprout.com is my website. Once you go on that website, you can access my social media. You can access all my podcast platforms to include Apple, Spotify, and Google. And also, you go in the right-hand corner, you can access my Instagram, and also you can access my YouTube. Speaking of YouTube, if you're a brand new person on the YouTube channel, on my YouTube channel, and you like what you see, go ahead and click the subscription button and also click the bell icon. And once you do that, you'll be notified of all future episodes. And you can go back and look at the archives as well. Got 47 of these bad boys. Again, the Trust and Believe nomadcast.buzzsprout.com is a one-stop shop. Follow the arrows, folks. All right. Now, for my opening remarks. Now, I always talk about nerding out. I'm one of them guys. I love nerding out on documentaries, history, numbers, fun facts, and all that. So last night before I went to bed, I was looking at our local news, and they was talking about furniture buying. People in America are buying furniture at a record pace. And they provided the various reasons why. Could be COVID, workplace environments, people are teleworking, working at home, so on and so forth. And I will tell you, listening to that telecast last night, they talked about Americans are spending in the billions this year alone, 2021, buying furniture. Again, it could be, like they stated, it's a myriad of things. Office managers are outfitting their offices. They're modernizing the offices. The conference table was from 1975, so they modernized it with speakers and televisions and all this. And then for the folks that's teleworking, you're modernizing your workplace. Got a standing desk, new chairs, tables, all sorts of things, right? And then for the people that's at home, you're buying recliners, you're buying couches, you're buying brand new bedroom furniture, the Sleep Number mattresses, all those things, right? And I think that's important because we talk about quality of life. That's what it is. And ladies and gentlemen, I will always tell people, you cannot put a premium on comfort. There's nothing that's more satisfying than coming home after a hard day's work or a hard day running errands, and you come home to that recliner, you come home to that couch, come home to that bed. There's nothing like it. Again, you cannot put a cost on comfort. Don't cheat yourself. We talked about it the other day, saying yes to yourself. No, if you have the funds and you have the resources, go ahead and buy a new recliner. Buy a new couch. Buy a new bedroom set. You deserve it. Speaking of that, I think, for next week for Talking on the Tuesday, I'm going to dive into, we're going to have a nerd out session when it talks about furniture buying. And I kind of just provided everybody a wave top with the reasons why we're buying furniture. But I think we're going to conduct a deep dive. This upcoming Talking on the Tuesday, we'll talk about different ways, the reasons why we're buying furniture. I think that'd be fun. So we'll nerd out together as per usual. All right. So that concludes my opening remarks. Next up, Wayback Wednesday, I will tell a story about me in 1999, landing in Germany, right? My first duty station in the Army, and the issues I had with the locations in Germany and issues I had with senior leadership that was installed in Germany at that time, so on and so forth. So I'll take y'all back to 1999 in Germany. That'll be fun. So that'll be my Wayback Wednesday story. Again, stay tuned, stay locked. Again, look at the website. It's there in front of you. You can access everything. All right. Trust and believe, y'all. Wayback Wednesday is next. All All right, everybody, welcome back. Welcome back to the Trust and Believe Nomad Cast here on the Wayback Wednesday. So before I get started with my Wayback Wednesday, I forgot to mention that I am on TikTok as well. So I mentioned in my opening remarks about the Trust and Believe Nomad Cast website, and I mentioned YouTube and Instagram, but I forgot about TikTok. So I am on TikTok as well at Retired Master Sergeant 20. And I forgot about that, so, you know, don't charge it to my heart. Don't charge it to my brain, right? All right, so let's go ahead and get started with Wayback Wednesday. As I mentioned yesterday and today, the story takes place back in 1999. 1999. That was my Prince, my poor man Prince rendition. But I'll take you back to 1999, November 4th to be exact, is when I landed in Germany, right? So I go ahead and give you I guess a prelude to all that. So everyone knows who's listened to this Nomad Cast since episode 1. I was honorably discharged from the Marines in 1998. I enlisted in the Army October 23rd, 1999. I enlisted out of San Diego, California. So once I flew from San Diego, California, landed in Fort Jackson. Now, Fort Jackson is where, I don't know if it still happens now, but where all the prior service folks go. Navy, Air Force, Marines, so on and so forth. And so I stayed in this prior service barracks, was just prior service folks, right? And we're there, and this almost serves as a RSOI, reception integration type situation that goes on there, where they kind of teach you about the Army, the do's and don'ts of the Army, the warrior ethos, Soldier's Creed, NCO Creed. You get your new uniforms, your Army uniforms. You get all your inoculations. You update your personal information, your data, your beneficiaries, all that sort of stuff, all your administrative work, more or less, right? And you conduct some Army level PT, which at the time, the PT was different from what I was used to, right? So you're there I was there October 23rd, and I was there until the 4th of November, right? And when I found out I was going, I already had an assignment to Europe, but I didn't have that direct pinpoint assignment to Germany until I got there, because my recruiter was like, I can get you Europe. I can get you Europe. But he didn't know where in Europe. Just, get me to Europe. It could have been Italy, could have been wherever. So once I got to Fort Jackson and started doing the administrative operations and everything, HANAU, Germany, which I thought was pronounced HANAU. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to HANAU. All right. Ended up going to the airport, flew to Germany, right? So long flight. We landed at RHEINMAIN Air Base. RHEINMAIN Air Base used to be an Air Force base. It's closed. I forgot what year it closed. And it's almost 30-something miles, almost 40 miles away from Frankfurt, right? And Frankfurt is huge. So I landed there. I remember it was a winter day. It was cold. It was cold. And now I'm just leaving San Diego and leaving Fort Jackson. Now I'm in freaking Germany, where it's freaking, as the New Yorkers say, it's brick out here, son. It was cold outside. So I remember we got off the tarmac. They walked us through, welcomed us to Germany, so on and so forth, and had our uniforms on and everything, and went through, again, administrative process. Went through some in processing there. And we ended up taking a bus. We got on the bus, boarded the bus from Frankfurt Airport to RHEINMAIN. Again, it was like 30-something miles. So once we went to RHEINMAIN, went through the gate and everything, and we were in the barracks. And this barracks, I remember it was an old school, almost like a World War II type barracks. And those barracks were situated for the personnel that's in transit, that's getting ready to go to subsequent duty stations, right? And they had the buses all lined up, depending on the duty station you was going to within Germany, right? So I remember sitting there, and we got there, I want to say it was almost like 10 o'clock in the morning. So it was like, hey, it was I think a sergeant first class. And I didn't even really know the Army ranks that much, because when I saw, E7, 3 up, 2 down, I was like, that's a gunny. But it was like, I'm a sergeant first class, such and such. Welcome you guys to Germany. We got some lunch here. We'll get you guys some lunch. And then at 12 o'clock noon, we'll start the end brief and start processing you guys. I'm processing you guys out to your respective areas in Germany. So I'm like, cool, you know. So I called my wife, who was in transit, because she was at that time getting out the Marine Corps. So I called her, spoke to her. My daughter was young at the time. I called my parents and everything. And they was like, "What do you think?" I was like, "Well, I don't know. It kind of just landed here. I still have jet lag. You know, I'm leaving freaking Fort Jackson, where it wasn't cold, but it was a little cool outside. And now I'm in freaking Germany, and it's freaking cold out here, right?" So I went back, and, you know, we sat around, we talked, you know, the rest of us, prior service cats and guys that were there, just, you know, talking about talk. And so that's like, all right, everybody, we got a delay. There's an issue with the computer. Be back here at 1300, which is 1 o'clock, and we'll go ahead and get everything started. So I'm like, okay, you know, so I'm kind of just walking around. They had a PX there, a Shop It there, you know, just, you know, getting American stuff and, you know, just kind of just walking around. So fast forward, we get to 1300, and that's the time that we had to be there. So now they start calling out people, Anderson and all these other folks that was there. There's a lot of folks that was there. So they start calling us and giving us our assignments. And so there's like, oh, here's your assignment. He said, but also look on the big board, because the assignments and the duty locations can change. So I'm looking at this big board they had. They had freaking Giebelstadt, Graf, Hohensfels, Vilseck, daggone Mannheim, Kaiserslautern, which is, we call it K-Town, HANAU, but I thought it was pronounced HANAU. So I'm looking there. I'm like, okay, that's where I'm going. HANAU, 5-7 ADA, Air Defense Artillery, 69th Air Defense Brigade. And I think that 69th Air ADA Brigade, I don't think they're in Germany no more. I think they're gone. And all these other cities in you know, in daggone Germany, these duty assignments in Germany. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to freaking HANAU. Can't wait. So it was a warrant officer, a W-2 that was there at the time. And he said, hey, you guys, make sure you listen out for your bus locations. It is imperative. It's imperative that you listen for your bus locations, because once if you miss your bus location, you have to stay here over the weekend and then board that next the upcoming Monday. So I'm like, okay. So again, we sitting there. We continue filling out paperwork and updating our SGLI and all that, you know, administrative type stuff. So we're sitting there. There's like the buses will start boarding at 2 o'clock. At 1400, I'm gonna start calling out the duty stations. Look on the board, match it to where you're going, and once I call out the duty station, and then you go to that bus, that respective bus. So I'm like, too easy, right? So we're sitting there. 1400 come. So they start calling out duty assignments. Graf, personnel going to Graf. Your bus is outside. So I see people leaving. Giebelstadt, Budigen, Darmstadt. I mean, they calling out all these places. Kaiserslautern, which is K-Town. Mannheim, Wurzburg, all these places. So I'm sitting there and I'm sitting there and I'm sitting there. Now they called HANAU. I didn't pay attention. I thought it was HANAU. So I'm sitting there, right? I'm just sitting there and they like, HANAU. If you're on the bus to HANAU, your bus leaves now. And they kept calling all the other duty stations in Germany. So I noticed it's about 40, 50 people, you know, if my memory serves me, that was sitting in there. All this started at 1400. Right now, it was about 16 going on 1700, right? I noticed I was one of the last people that was still there. So, you know, it's still people going back and forth because it's an in processing station. So people going back and forth. Ain't nobody really paying attention to me. So around 1700, I've been sitting there for a minute. They called out HANAU, but I thought it was HANAU. I thought it was pronounced HANAU. HANAU, right? Again, they calling out all these other stops. So I go to the desk. I'm like, you know, I'm tired of sitting here. So there was the Sergeant First Class that was at the desk. It was a Master Sergeant that was at the desk, and there was a W-2, a warrant officer that was at the desk. Again, I'm just a freaking PFC, brand new in the freaking Army, have no clue how the Army operates. I'm still in Marine mode, still, loud mouth and, fast talking, and I'm better than everybody and all this stuff, right? So I get to the desk and I said, excuse me, gentlemen, I have a problem. So the master sergeant was like, first of all, I'm a master sergeant. And the guy was like, well, I'm a sergeant first class. And the other guy was like, I'm a W-2. And I'm like, again, I'm in Marine mode now. I'm like, okay, all right. Okay, guys. So I was like, master sergeant, chief, and sergeant first class. Because our E7s, we called them gunnies. So I made sure I addressed them because I didn't want no problems, right? So I was like, so there's, what do you need, troop? What you need, high speed? And that's the first time I ever heard someone say high speed. That was an Army term. So there's like, what you need, high speed? So I was like, well, I've been sitting here all morning, and I'm noticing that you guys are calling out the bus stops, the bus routes for service members to board the bus. No one has called out HANAU. So they kind of looked at each other, and they was like, HANAU? You mean HANAU? I'm like, no, Master Sergeant, HANAU. I am supposed to be going to HANAU. I need to board the bus to HANAU. I've been sitting here all morning. Where's the bus to HANAU? So they all kind of looked at each other like, this blank is crazy. And they was like, soldier, it is pronounced HANAU, and you missed your bus. Your bus departed hours ago. That is your fault. I said, Master Sergeant, with all due respect, now again, I'm still in Marine mode, but I'm realizing I'm in the Army now, right? It took me a while to figure that part out. And they was like, look, soldier, your bus already left. You sat there. So now, don't be coming up here getting no attitude. And so they end up locking me up in military terms, parade rest and all that, right? And I was like, Master Sergeant, I said, no disrespect, but I'm ready. I want to get on the bus to HANAU. You guys haven't called it. And they was like, guy, high speed, listen to me. It is not HANAU. It is HANAU. HANAU, Germany. HANAU. And so I'm sitting there like, this dude don't think I can freaking spell. Now I'm like, Roger. I'm like, so, okay, I missed the bus. Understood. When is the next bus going to HANAU? And he was like, son, that bus is not, there's no more buses. He said, if you had to listen to the brief, the bus, if you miss the bus today, you got to stay here for the whole weekend. And then the next group of buses will arrive Monday, and you'll depart to your duty station Monday. So I'm like, I got to stay here for the whole weekend. And he was like, yeah, high speed. He said, guess what? I'm putting you on restriction because you're coming up here with a freaking attitude. So now everyone else that was there, if they missed a bus, it could be a myriad of reasons. They were allowed to go to Frankfurt, which was like 30 something miles away. They go catch a cab and they can go out to Frankfurt, and they were still on a time restriction where they couldn't be out there past 2000 or something like that. But I guess since I walked up in there and I had a freaking attitude, and I'm trying to change the way, the Germans pronounce HANAU, and I'm saying HANAU when I thought of, when they was like, it's HANAU. And he felt I had an attitude. He wrote me a freaking counseling statement, a 4856. So I'm looking at the paper. I'm like, Master, what is this? You belligerent. He said, you just joined the Army. I'm looking at your records. You was a prior service Marine. I can't stand you former Marines. Y'all come in here thinking you're going to run the world and all that. Let me tell you something. I'm Master Sergeant, such and such. He's just going off. So I'm like, all right, okay, guy, I get it. Thumbs up, right? So I'm like, so where are the barracks? And the barracks was upstairs. Do you know I could not go anywhere that weekend but to the PX and to the Chow Hall that was on RHEINMAIN, right? I couldn't go to freaking Frankfurt because they had put me on restriction based upon my attitude and the way I walked up in there. Now, as I've grown older, I've become more diplomatic, and I wish if I could take that time back, I would have been a little bit more diplomatic, right? But I tell you what ended up happening. I'm kind of glad the way it happened, right? So I'm in the barracks. I can't go anywhere. I can't go to Frankfurt. And I hear these people talking about, man, Frankfurt's this, Frankfurt's that. And you can see Frankfurt from my barracks room. And I'm like, man, that'd be cool to freaking go to Frankfurt. Couldn't go because my mouth put me on freaking restriction. Go figure, right? So that Monday came. And there was like the buses are going to start in the morning at 10:00, be downstairs at 09. So I'm down there like at 08:30. Being early is on time, being on time is late. And so they started going ahead, calling roll and everything. Now a new crop of soldiers had arrived as well, right? So now it's even more packed. So they called the HANAU bus, and the master sergeant was like, "Hey, PFC Anderson, the bus for HANAU is outside. You tracking?" I was like, "Roger, Master Sergeant, I'll be on the bus. No problem." Now, initially, my order stated I was supposed to go to 57 ADA, but I was supposed to go to freaking Bravo Battery, right? I am so glad my mouth got me in trouble, because if I had left that Friday like I was supposed to, I would have went to Bravo Battery. I ended up going to 19th Maintenance Company, which was phenomenal, right? Because if I had went to Bravo Battery, and some of them Bravo Battery folks back then, it was just a little, they did a little too much for me, for my taste. Because they was going to the field, they was doing a lot of things. I mean, we went to the field too, but not at the frequency of Bravo Battery. So once Monday, I got on the bus, told Master Sergeant, say, "I apologize for everything last week. No disrespect." He said, "No," he said, "I just know how you prior service Marines coming in. You coming in with your chest out, and why isn't these things not the way they're supposed to be, so on and so forth." He said, "But just give you a little advice. The 3 years that you're going to be here, it is pronounced HANAU. It is not pronounced HANUA." So we had a laugh about it and everything, And I told him, I said, "I'm sorry for the disrespect. I was just, had a long flight. My wife is transitioned from the Marines, so I had that stressed, and she had our daughter with her. I mean, it was just a lot of stress during that time. Brand new organization. I'm leaving the Marine Corps, going to the Army, so it was a lot of stress. But thinking about it now, I wish I'd have handled it, better back then. But of course, the maturity levels, it's different from what it is now. So I wish I was more of a diplomat. But anyway, so I ended up going to HANAU, got on the bus. My sponsor, once I arrived at Underwood Concern, which is closed, got out there, I forgot the sergeant's name, but he introduced himself. He said, "Hey, you coming to 19th Maintenance?" And he was like, "Yeah." He said, "I'm looking at your orders. You were supposed to go to Bravo Battery, but you got rerouted and diverted, and now you coming over here with 19th Maintenance Company," which was great. It was phenomenal. I'm still friends and talk with those folks that was in 19th Maintenance Company till this day, and that was back in 1999. So I tell you, man, that was the story is kind of short, but the main point is, I've had a Nomad cast before talking about reading the room, and I should have read the room knowing that, okay, you're a private service Marine, so what? You're in a freaking Army. Adapt and overcome. And I didn't do that, but then it also taught me a valuable lesson of listen to what's happening, because I was stuck on HANUA. Why ain't nobody calling out HANUA? It's supposed to be HANUA because I said so. And it's funny that a master sergeant is the one that freaking set me straight. It's something about master sergeants, man. We some great individuals, right? But again, I had fun with that. So that was my story for Wayback Wednesday. Arriving in Germany, 1999, walking up in there, talking about HANUA, when it was really pronounced HANAU. Like the master sergeant said, HANAU. All good. All right, y'all, that concludes my Wayback Wednesday story. Hope you got something out of it. Again, I think the main takeaways is probably reading the room, understanding the environment, being respectful for people where you need to facilitate any movement, any onward movement that you need. And initially, I didn't do that. So again, years later, you start developing some of those skills as well to help you in life. So again, that concludes Wayback Wednesday for today. Hope you guys, again, got something out of it. I had fun telling that story. I always love telling these Wayback Wednesday stories. They were great. All right, tomorrow, stand by for tomorrow. We're going to have gym shoe stories on a Thursday. It'll be the last episode for the week. So that'll be exciting as well. Gym shoe stories on a Thursday. Stay tuned, stay locked. Appreciate you guys. Get that last minute Christmas shopping in and buy these gifts and buy something for others, but also say yes to yourself and buy something for yourself. You deserve it. You worked hard all year. Take credit for your work and buy yourself something. You deserve it. Do not feel guilty. Why? Because you deserve it. All right? Be safe. Be blessed. See y'all tomorrow. Trust and believe.